Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy, and this is part one of my series on evidence of Greek influence in my town, or is this part two? I don't know. I've been doing so many of these, I need to write them down on my piece of paper. But anyway, this one is about St. Anne's Shrine in Lake Wales, Florida. And the interesting thing about St. Anne's Shrine is that there's this part of the structure out there that does look like that it might be an old castle or something buried in the ground. And it does have a little bit of a story behind it. And you know, if any of you have studied any of the old world buildings, you'll know that you know how the story narrative is played out. Well, it was the same thing. There was a fire out there. I made a video of it and I put it on my shorts. But there is some interesting things about St. Anne's Shrine that I'm fascinated with, and I think that it goes all the way back to the Olympus, the gods of Olympus, the 12 Titans. I think that these different sects of the 12 Titans spread out all over the planet, and they built all kind of beautiful, amazing architecture and everything. It just depends on which Titan family it was. Some of them were more interested in, you know, music and art, and some were about home life and farming, and you know, others, they all had different things. Others was about the women, taking care of women's health. Some were, you know, just about healing, and they were like the doctors. You know, some were like the builders, you know, like your stonemasons, which is interesting. So it would be interesting to see which one of the lines of these people actually came out from the builder. I think that I actually did write it down. Let's see. You know what? It wasn't this actual first 12 gods. It was one of their children that has the stonemason line. So we'll have to look that up, because the original 12 gods that we're talking about are the one with Zeus in it. You always hear like Zeus was the father of all the gods. No, he wasn't. He was a brother, and he had multiple brothers and multiple sisters, and one of his brothers was Adama, and that's where Adam came from. Adam, the first red human, called the red man, or the red people. The first Adama was Adam. Adam came from Adama, and that was him sacrificing himself so that he could be born again through his kids, and those kids are called the children of the light, and they follow the law of one. And if you haven't watched my videos on the law of one and the first Edgar Casey readings on that, episode 1, I think it's episode 1 or 2, that I talk about what the law of one is about and how it got started by Emilius and why exactly. So when you go to St. Anne's Shrine, well, first of all, let me show you what I got in, I'll read you what I have in my book. I have this book that I got at my local Walgreens, and it's pretty interesting because it has all of the history on all of the buildings in my town. And it shows in here the inside of the shrine. Somebody had a picture of it, but this is what the shrine and the church look like. There were relics, priceless relics in that church, like artifact type relics, is the way it was told to me, that were in that church, and they burned it down. Now that same walkway is still out there in St. Anne's Shrine, and there was a bell and everything. It was a monastery. So it was they turned it into a biblical museum after the monastery closed, and then somebody set it on fire. So they never rebuilt it, but they have some articles and stuff about it in our local museum. But when I went down there, our museum's closed for renovation, so hard telling how long that'll be. But from what I understand, nothing really survived. There's just some newspaper articles. So this statue was erected in St. Anne's Shrine, okay? And this is the interesting thing that I want to talk about, because you can go to the video and you'll see where the tower there looks like a castle, and then they came back with coquina rock in a later time, and they put a bridge there. They built like this faux bridge with all this decorative coquina rock that they took from the Keys. See, this is another thing, is a lot of these buildings that we think are once have been inhabited because they have these clues on them. You also have to remember that they were recycling building materials. So there are some places that they did actually build, but it was like them taking it from one place and reassembling it, if you know what I mean. They just took it and they went and robbed, they dismantled stuff that they took. They took stuff from other places and they just built their own stuff. It's like, you know, you got two kids playing Legos, right? One kid has his own set, the other kid has his own set. Well, this kid right here, he just goes over and takes all his blocks and moves them over here because he needed more bricks and blocks for his set so he could build what he wanted, right? Same concept. It's same concept. If you don't have anywhere to get building materials from, and you really want to try to make a name for yourself, and that's what they were all doing back then. All these robber barons, all these people were just egomaniacs trying to make a name for themselves, and they knew all about these buildings, and so they started, they did all kind of scheming and conniving to take these buildings, these buildings, and yeah, some of them were buried, and I think some of them did explode because in ancient times they knew about all the minerals, so they were harvesting raw salt, and raw sodium is extremely flammable when it comes in contact with water. I've seen experiments on it. Say it, don't spray it. I've seen experiments on it. So anyway, if you look at the symbol that's on here, sorry, I have herbs in my teeth. It looks like they're trying to show you a heart, but to me that doesn't really look like a heart to me. That looks like a vessel. Look at it. You see how it looks more like a pot with a fire and a cross, right? That's what it looks like to me. But then you've got it morphed into this symbol right here. You see this heart? And then we've added these right here that was around Jesus's head, which we already know that this right here was a drug. It was used as a sedative. And the Romans did put this on Jesus's head because they were trying to bring him down because he was ODing. He was overdosed on that venom drug from those Bacchic rites. And he didn't have time to get the enzymes from the little boy. He got caught before he could get them. He got caught before he could get the purple from the boy, from his, semen. And so he got caught in the middle and they arrested him. So he was ODing on the venom because you only last for like 3 days after you've been introduced to it, because it puts you into this hysteria and you have a near-death experience. And that's how you're able to see into the other planes of reality. So this is what they were doing. They were doing these Bacchic rites, which came from Enlil from the Sumerian tablets, because we've come to the conclusion now from piecing together Edgar Cayce and figuring out that the person that talks to Edgar Cayce in hundreds of his readings, named Amelius, says that he's also Adama, and that he was born to himself. He became his son. He was Adama, and then he became Adam in the flesh, and that was Amelius. So when you go and you start digging, and then you go through the Quran, and I read that information that was put together about a study about who the identity is, you find out that Adama was Enki, E-N-K-I, from the Sumerian tablet drama. So Adama was Enki. And Enki was the one that lived in the Absu, in Abydos, that big water structure that's ancient, and they don't even know how old it is. Could you imagine when people find out that all these people that they've been calling Lucifer all this time, that is really Adam's father, Adama, aka Enki. Isn't it Enki? I want to make sure I got that right. I do not want to say that wrong. Yes, Enki. Yes, it's Enki. And Enki lived in the Apsu. That's right, Enki lived in the Apsu. You can look at that Apsu, boy, that'll blow you away. So yes, the Apsu was built by Emilius, the creator of humanity. Yes. So this is why, apparently this is why we must have a divine spark, is because we come from genetics from Enki. And Enki is Lucifer. And see, we got knowledge when we got his genetics. And that was, you know, we gained all of this worldly knowledge because we had his genetics, and we have genetics of being born into the flesh and de-evolving at the same time. So I guess having a soul is what makes humans special, because we're a hybrid from Enki, a divine, the first manifestation. He sacrificed himself. And see, that's the interesting thing too, is that it also talks about his sacrifice. So anyway, I was talking about this because this has been changed a little bit, but this is Catholic downplay, okay? These two are the same. They call this Marian worship of the Mother Mary, and Saint and her mother, the Anne, Saint Anne. Well, I want you to look at this symbolism here. Look at this symbol of this burning pot right here. Look at that. You see that? Burning pot. Doesn't that look a lot like this? Yes, it does. Could it actually be that Saint Anne's shrine is a shrine to the Greek goddess Hestia? She watches over domesticity in the family and was traditionally honored in the first offering at any sacrifice made in the home. On a public level, Hestia's flame was never allowed to burn out. Sounds like the Olympics, huh? The local town hall serves as a shrine for her. That's very interesting because they called this a shrine. Anytime a new settlement is put there, and she's known for her hospitality for people that are, you know, down on their luck and need a place to stay. That's what she's known for. And her lamp with a perpetual flame. So you'll see that in these bleeding heart type things, but I see that out at St. Anne's Shrine. I think that was an old temple out there for Hestia. Early worships offered young cows to Hestia, because there's an area up there could have been used for an altar. You don't know. You really don't know. I think part of it's submerged, but it's really old. And you can look at the tower on my page. I have it on a short, so it'll only take a second, but you know it's old. It's old. And there's a white square that's sitting on top. That was added later, and they put this little thing of Saint Christopher in there with Jesus on his back, which, you know, when you know about the Bacchic rites and you see these supposedly saints and martyrs carrying little boys around, it makes you want to throw up. So it says, keep a candle dedicated to Hestia burning on your hearth or mantle. If you don't have a fireplace, your kitchen can be representative of the hearth. So keep that oven going. When you're working on any sort of domestic home-focused project, honor Hestia with your prayers, songs, or hymns. So that's interesting, because I really feel like that St. Anne's Shrine is a recycled shrine that is for the Greek goddess Hestia. And I think that we're going to find that there are so many indications to each one of these. Just like when I was in Arcadia, I was seeing like a lot of symbolism that had to do with like Demeter, and also I think it's Hestia. But anyway, there's one that's all, oh, Hera. Hera's all about women, and there's on the building, there's this symbol that looks, it looks almost like a swastika type flower, but when you look at it up close, it's actually like sperms. It's like 4 sperm going around in a circle. And I've tried to find that circle, but I know that is a Greek building. I know it. I know it. It has like other types of symbolism all over the front of it. It has ionic columns. I mean, it has an interior that's hollowed out. It's like an arcade through there, and it still has all the ironworks and everything. And it's all like plaster molded. I mean, beautiful stuff. I took some pictures, and I've got to figure out how to make YouTube videos the right way. These damn fire, no, they're the yellow flies. They are so bad. They'll just bite you to death. So anyway, Hestia, okay, let me get to this part and then we'll wrap this video. Hestia, she was a virgin in the oracle, okay? Now all of these girls, these girls were supposed to be oracles, and they were supposed to stay pious because they had to follow a strict ritual to be able to channel through to the absolute. That's why they were oracles, because they had to be able to connect with Amelia still. It's like a 3-way phone call. And only the very most important people or on a need-to-know basis were the ones that got to do these rites. And they were administered by these oracles or these nymphs. But the way that they did them was in a virginal type way, where there was not any physical sex going on between male and female. They were only with women. And what ended up happening was the men apparently wanted to get involved. So you have Zeus that was always taking advantage of these nymphs. And that's why you have all these offsprings of Zeus, because all these kids are from him taking these women. And I'm sure it wasn't against their will. I mean, it says they succumbed, but yeah, eventually they probably didn't have a choice, right? So, and then he did stuff to his own sisters. You know, he had a child with Demeter, if I'm not mistaken. And that might be who Apollo is. I'd have to look. I mean, there's just like so many of them, it'll take forever. But they all represented something. Like Hades means wise one, and is given either wealth or the Pluton. And then we have Adama, of course, we've already talked about him. And then we have Zeus, who's the sky, Poseidon, sea storms, earthquakes, Hera, women, Demeter, harvest and farm, and Hestia, and that's attending the fire of the hearth. It says Hestia took her role as a virgin seriously as well, and in one legend, see, this talks about the oracles being taken advantage of. The lustful god Priapus. If you look up what Priapus is, that's a penis. That's what it is. Try to take advantage of her. As Priapus crept into her bed, planning on raping her, a donkey seen him, and you know, if you know anything about donkeys, donkeys are incredible watchdogs. They're better than a watchdog. If you have a coyote, you won't have a problem with wild animals peeing on your property. It doesn't matter if you got 50 acres. Get you a couple donkeys. They can take care of it. You will have no... So this, I believe this. A donkey brayed loudly, waking up the goddess. Her screams woke the other Olympians. And much to Priapus's great embarrassment, in some stories it said Priapus believed Hestia to be a nymph, and that the other gods hid her by turning her into a lotus plant. So he thought she was a nymph, and he thought that she could give him the oracle, right? That's why he snuck in there with his Priapus, his apparatus, because he wanted to use it to get some of the, you know, some of the medicine from her. And she was like, no, you can't have my medicine. I dispense the medicine. That's like robbing the doctor's office in ancient times. You didn't do that. But Zeus did. So I think that caused a rebellion. It caused a rebellion, and Adamas and him had a rebellion. And Adamas ended up getting killed by Poseidon. But it does say that he sacrificed himself so we could try again, so humanity could have another try. But we still have all of these other things going on. But I'm telling you, even if you're not interested in mythology, it is very interesting to see that there are all of these old monuments that have symbolism on them. All of these old monuments that have symbolism on them, you can find some things that they haven't covered up because they just think we're too stupid to realize it, that tie into this Mycenaean time period, where there's all of these different types of architecture. We have these big, huge stones because there were people that were giant human beings. And then you had these other places that they had these megalithic size things because they knew how to manipulate matter and levitate blocks with sound. So, I mean, they had a level of technology that was lost, but, you know, those were all different fractions over, different fractions over time of these different bloodlines. And so I guess this is how you go from the Greek stuff into the Hebrew, and then you have the sons of this one and the sons of that one, and it became this line. So are these lines that they're talking about in the Bible actually the people from ancient Greece that come from the Titans, the family of Titans? They talk about 12 families ruling the whole world. Well, I mean, really, we all come from the 12 families if humanity came from that first group of people. Unless there's, you know, all of these other lines had people on out, and that there's only one line that comes from Amelius that were the Greeks. I guess we'll find out. The Mycenaeans come from him, Amelius. But there's things hidden in the architecture everywhere. And St. Anne's Shrine, I think, is a shrine to a goddess, and I don't think that it was actually, and I think that they've changed the names over time. I think that, you know, instead of them using the original names that were in the Greek text, you know, they decided to call it Anne because Anne was like the mother of Mary, and so they were just coming up with their own lines. So maybe there's maybe a Mary and an Anne were not just names for people, but maybe they were names for a position. Like a Jesus is a name for a position. It's not a name for a person. It was like a career. So maybe an Anne and a Mary was also a career. That maybe they were supposed to be these, well, they were raised in the temple, so they were supposed to be these antidotes. But see, it had been diluted from the original time. See, the original time, you could only take it from the ones that were nymphs, that were from the oracle, because they had a special bloodline, and they had a special ritual way that they lived, that it was non-contaminated. That's why they didn't have sexual intercourse with men, according to the thing, was because they were just like pharmaceuticals. They were using their body for pharmaceuticals, so they had to not intertwine any other cells with their cells, because their cells were very important for their enzymes, the aptogens, amino acids, and all that, because their cells helped keep the new Adam, you know, the new Adama's, you know, firstborn son, which is the first human Adam. He needed these people here to help make sure these people weren't dying off. You know, this was a new creation, right? So there were probably some kinks in the beginning. But you know, these people got hijacked because they were taking too much. They weren't doing the recipe right, and people were wanting to do it because they were power hungry, and people were wanting to take the purple snail venom, and that's why you see the cross with the purple scarf on it at Easter time, is because that purple stuff is the stuff that Jesus was using. But see all the symbolism. This is herbology. I mean, this is on a temple. This is a Hestia symbol for sure. And you know, see, there's just places like this all over the place, all over the place, and you have them in your town too. And I'd love to start, you know, getting people out and looking around your town with a new set of eyes and looking for the stuff yourself, because literally it's everywhere. If you go down to your town, or some places that are like the oldest historic places in town, or if you grow up in a place, you know, there's places they don't even tell you about, that, you know, that are here that nobody really goes to anymore. You know what I mean? There's a lot of places around here like that, and I'm grateful that I'm from here, because I know it. You know, I know where those places are, and I can show them to everybody else, because, you know, there's special stuff to be learned here. Well, anyway, I'm going to end it with that, because I have a yellow fly that's just biting the shit out of me, and it's driving me crazy. It's bit my legs like 40 times. And I really wanted to finish that out, but, you know, there's so many different places around here that are old world, and St. Anne's Shrine is just one of many that I want to show you and share with you, all of the symbology. I've got one that's symbology galore, and I'll have to go and take single shot photos. I did videos when I was there last, and not really thinking what I was going to be doing or how I was going to work on my delivery, but I took videos, and then I kept getting interrupted by people, so it's not good quality video footage, and I need to go back and revisit it, and I take some stills so I can show everyone, and take some better video that I can put on shorts to show you. The symbolism will blow you away. I mean, definitely. I'm still trying to figure out what he was trying to say, because there's a huge story behind that too. But I've got more reading and more research to do, because I have to be very careful when I talk about somebody like him, and make sure that I don't have anything wrong, because I could get myself in trouble. So anyway, with that note, when you come and find me, I'll be here. So thanks for stopping in. We're living in the past, the present, and the future all at once, which means when I come out next time, these flies are probably going to be here again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.